how many people live, work, or spend any time in DC? So you probably have a picture in your mind of what homelessness in DC looks like. It could be a tent that's along the side of the road, or the person who's been panhandling on the same street corner for years. There's people you don't see, the teenager who's sleeping on a different couch every night, or the family with young kids who's sleeping in a shelter. All across DC, there are nearly 7,000 people who go to sleep homeless. I work at Miriam's Kitchen, which is a nonprofit in DC that serves hundreds of homeless individuals every day. We serve restaurant quality meals and provide connections to housing and income and healthcare. And a lot of the guests that we serve, they're chronically homeless, which means that for whatever reason, a serious health problem, a trauma, homelessness, it's something that they can't escape. Every day is just survival. When homelessness comes up in conversations, people will often say to me, I really want to help, but I don't know what to do. When I walk by someone, I'm not even sure what to say. And what's the point anyway? There's no real solution. Let's talk about that last part. What if we could end homelessness? It sounds ludicrous, right? But I believe it takes asking bold questions to set bold goals to unlock solutions. Now, don't get me wrong. I get why ending homelessness sounds impossible. Even though I'm a social worker, and part of being a social worker means signing up, believing you can change the world, you see a lot of hard things over the years that make you want to give up. Like Anthony, one of my first clients. Some days they were great. He would tell me all about his glory days as a high school swimmer, and we'd work on his goals for the day, seeing a doctor, finding a better shelter. But some days they were really hard. He would get frustrated and yell and walk out, and I wasn't sure if he was ever coming back. Anthony had been on the street for over 10 years. And some people would basically say to me, is he choosing to be homeless? This is where the reimagining comes in. What if we could end homelessness by giving people homes? It's not that complicated, right? If someone has a home, then they're no longer homeless. But we tend to make it more complicated. You have to get clean first, keep a bunch of appointments, fill out this big stack of paperwork, get a job. But how could any of us pull something like that off without a safe, stable place to sleep? I don't know about you, but if I go a few days without a good night's sleep, I'm lucky the next day if I can string a few sentences together. But if we flip the script and provide someone with housing first, then they have the stable foundation to succeed. With his apartment, Anthony, he was transformed. And he was still living with all the same challenges. Finally having a pillow doesn't mean that you never feel isolated or depressed. But now that he had the stability of housing and the support of a caseworker, he could figure things out. And one of my favorite memories was Anthony inviting me over to his place for the first time. He opened the door with this huge smile, and he was enthusiastic about his day, his errands, his doctor's appointments, getting back into swimming, and reconnecting with his mom. I knew that housing was important. It was Anthony, though, who made me a believer. Anthony and people like him, they carried me through a few years. I could get to know someone, connect them to housing, if it was available, and just do my best to help one person at a time. But it felt too slow. So I did what any young DC middle manager might do. I signed up for a conference. And it was at that conference that I heard the boldest idea. The HUD secretary at the time, Sean Donovan, he compared ending homelessness to landing a person on the moon. America had set this impossible vision, and we did it. We could do the same with ending homelessness. He said, "We have now proven that we can house anyone. Our job now is to house everyone." This bold goal, it made me see everything differently. You see, homelessness as it exists today in its current scope, it wasn't like that before the 1980s. So there is no reason why it has to be this way forever. And a bold goals, they're so important. They're contagious. I mean, people back at work were skeptical. And it did take a lot of conversations, but in the end, everyone signed on. Miriam's Kitchen was committed to ending chronic homelessness. And so if we were going to move from helping one person at a time to housing people across the city, we were going to need way more housing. And that starts with convincing the city government to fund more of the housing and supports that we know people need. We started the Way Home campaign, and the campaign focused on why ending chronic homelessness matters. I mean, first, it is possible. Housing ends homelessness. And it works. Over 90% of people who have the right housing and supports, a year later, they are still in housing. Over 90% of people that everyone thought nothing was possible for. Second, it is urgent. There are people who are dying on the street of preventable and manageable diseases. And third, it makes financial sense. For some people, it costs less to provide housing than the cost of all the ambulance rides and emergency room visits that can happen on the street. The campaign worked, and before we knew it, there were thousands of people across the city who had safe and stable housing of their own. Early successes can be really fun, right? There were lives being transformed one lease at a time. I mean, people at work were coming up to me, so convinced that we were ending homelessness, that they were asking me if they needed to look for another job. The road, though, it got tougher. Even though we were housing thousands of people, it still wasn't enough. We had underestimated how many new people would become homeless every day. Progress, it didn't completely stall, but the goal suddenly felt out of reach. And it was more than the numbers, it was personal. There were people that I knew for years who were dying on the street. A heart attack or an overdose, an accident or violence. No one wants to get that call. There were times when I wanted to give up. Things felt too hard, too painful, too impossible. Why didn't we give up? Time and time again, it was tapping back into that belief that ending homelessness is possible, and it is too urgent for us to walk away. Instead of getting discouraged, we got focused. Now we knew that ending homelessness was going to take more than housing everyone who's homeless right now. We needed creative solutions to help people from losing their housing in the first place. And we need bold solutions to the root causes of homelessness. The lack of affordable housing, racial inequities, and so many broken systems. America, when we were on our way to the moon, we tackled unforeseen and unexpected challenges. And we can do that too with homelessness. Because we choose to end homelessness not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And because there is too much at stake. Adapting to reach your bold goal, it doesn't need to be rocket science. It just needs to be constant commitment. And that commitment, it's paid off. And dreams are one thing, but results are another. Over the past 6 years in DC, chronic homelessness has gone down by 22%. In places across the country like Bergen County, New Jersey, Rockford, Illinois, and Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, they've already ended chronic homelessness. We have a long way to go, but the world is changing because there is clear, hard evidence that we can end chronic homelessness. In Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, we are going to join that list. So I hope that you've caught my passion for asking impossible questions and setting bold goals and unlocking new solutions. And whatever cause you're passionate about, get involved. Just get started, learn as you go, and don't get stuck in planning. And another key, you can't do this alone. I mean, we've only had success because so many individuals and organizations have joined together. And I joked about that conference earlier, but there is something magic about a group of people gathering together who all care about solving the same problem and find themselves dreaming things that they never thought they could even dream. And I want you to join our movement to end homelessness. There are small things that you can do every day. If you pass someone who's experiencing homelessness, smile and make eye contact. Make sure that they know that they're not invisible. And join us in the big things. Find a local organization who cares about ending homelessness too, and volunteer, donate, and advocate. I started out this journey asking myself, is ending homelessness impossible? But now I look forward to a day when homelessness, it's a thing of the past. And instead we're asking ourselves, how on earth was that ever possible? Thank you.